The stars looked different through the viewing port of the UES Valiant. Captain Jake Morrison stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel paint the darkness outside. After 300 years of looking up at the night sky and wondering if humanity was alone, they finally had their answer. They were not alone. And that answer had come with a price. The message had arrived 6 months ago. It was not a greeting of friendship or curiosity. It was a summons. The Galactic Council demanded Earth send representatives to their station immediately. The tone was not one of invitation but of command, like a parent calling a disobedient child to account for their actions. Humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel without permission, without guidance, without asking if they were allowed to leave their solar system. Jake looked at his reflection in the glass. He was 43 years old, with gray already touching his temples. He had fought in the Unification Wars, the brutal conflicts that had finally brought Earth under one government. He had seen cities burn and watched friends die in the mud. He thought those days were behind him. He thought humanity's next chapter would be peaceful exploration and discovery. He had been wrong. Behind him, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. The Valiant was Earth's finest achievement. A ship built with the combined knowledge of every nation that had once stood separate. It gleamed with new technology, powered by the quantum drive that had finally broken the light-speed barrier. But compared to what waited for them at the council station, Jake knew they were flying in a tin can held together with hope and prayers. Ambassador Lisa Grant entered the bridge. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and hair pulled back in a tight bun. She had been a negotiator during the Unification Wars, the person who had convinced the last holdout nations to join the Terran Federation. If anyone could talk humanity through this situation, it was her. But even she looked worried. "How long until we arrive?" she asked. 3 hours, Jake replied. The council station is orbiting a gas giant called the Sara Prime. Our sensors are picking up structures that dwarf anything we've ever built. The station itself is the size of Earth's moon. Lisa nodded slowly. Have they sent any additional communications? Nothing. Just coordinates and the original summons. They're not interested in talking yet. Or they don't think we're worth talking to, Lisa said quietly. Jake did not argue. He had read the original message dozens of times, analyzing every word. The Galactic Council had been watching Earth for centuries. They had observed humanity's development, categorized their progress, and made decisions about their future without ever introducing themselves. It was only when Earth launched the Valiant and prepared to explore beyond the solar system that the Council had revealed itself. The message was clear: stop, wait, and obey. The navigation officer, a young woman named Claire Murphy, called out from her station. "I'm getting handshake protocols from their traffic control. Respond with our diplomatic codes," Jake ordered. "Let them know we're here as requested." The ship shuddered slightly as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The viewing port cleared, and suddenly the universe snapped back into focus. And there, hanging in space like a jewel, was the council station. It was massive beyond comprehension. The structure was circular, with dozens of rings rotating at different speeds. Lights flickered across its surface like a city at night. Ships moved in and out of docking bays, vessels of strange and beautiful design. Some looked organic, like they had been grown, rather than built. Others were geometric and crystalline, catching the light of the nearby gas giant and reflecting it in rainbow patterns. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Danny Price, the communications officer. "There must be thousands of ships here. Millions of beings," Lisa added, her voice barely audible. "This is their seat of power, the heart of everything they've built." A message came through, cold and mechanical. "Terran Vessel Valiant. You are cleared for docking bay 773. Proceed immediately. Do not deviate from the designated flight path. Any deviation will be considered a hostile act." Jake glanced at Lisa, who nodded. "Take us in," he ordered. The Valiant moved forward slowly, guided by the Council's traffic control system. As they approached the station, Jake could see other ships more clearly. Some were elegant and sleek, moving through space like dancers. Others were enormous cargo vessels, carrying goods between worlds. And then, there were the warships. They hung in formations around the station, dark and menacing. These vessels did not shine or gleam. They were built for function, covered in weapon arrays and shield generators. Jake counted at least 50 in visual range, and his tactical officer reported detecting hundreds more throughout the system. Each one could probably destroy the Valiant with a single shot. The docking procedure was smooth and automated. Mechanical arms reached out and pulled the Valiant into the bay, securing it in place. Through the viewing port, Jake could see the interior of the station. The bay was enormous, easily large enough to hold 100 ships the size of the Valiant. Beings of various species moved about, some walking, some floating, some skittering on multiple legs. It was like looking at an alien zoo, except humanity was the new exhibit. "Well," Lisa said, straightening her diplomatic uniform, "I suppose we should not keep them waiting." The airlock opened, and Jake led a small team out onto the station. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth normal, and the air had a strange metallic taste. A group of figures waited for them. The leader was tall and crystalline, its body faceted like a diamond and glowing with inner light. When it spoke, its voice resonated directly in their minds, rather than through the air. "I am High Arbiter Crystallix of the Vex. Welcome to Council Station Alpha. You will follow me to the council chamber. You will not speak unless addressed. You will not touch anything. You will obey all instructions immediately." Jake felt his jaw tighten, but he said nothing. Lisa stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Thank you for receiving us, High Arbiter. We are honored to be here." Crystallix turned without acknowledging her words and began walking. The humans followed, surrounded by guards. These were massive beings, easily 8 feet tall and covered in thick armor-like skin. Their eyes were small and dark, and they carried weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. As they walked through the station, Jake observed everything. The corridors were wide and decorated with symbols he did not recognize. Screens displayed information in languages he could not read. Beings of dozens of different species passed by, some glancing at the humans with curiosity, others with contempt. More than once, Jake heard what sounded like laughter. They reached a massive door that spiraled open like a flower. Beyond was the council chamber. It was a vast circular room with seating arranged in tiers, all facing a central platform. 15 different sections held 15 different species, each represented by multiple individuals. At the highest tier sat the most important members, the ones who made the real decisions. Crystallix gestured for the humans to stand on the central platform. Jake, Lisa, and their team climbed the steps and turned to face the council. Hundreds of alien eyes stared down at them. The silence was oppressive. Finally, Crystallix spoke. "The being known as humanity has been observed by this council for 647 of your years. You have been classified as a developing species under Council Protocol 7. According to this protocol, you are not permitted to develop faster-than-light technology without Council supervision. You have violated this protocol. Explain yourselves." Lisa stepped forward. "With respect, High Arbiter, we were not aware of Council protocols. We had no knowledge of your existence until 6 months ago. We developed our technology independently, through centuries of scientific progress and innovation." A new voice spoke, harsh and clicking. It came from one of the insectoid beings in the second tier. "Ignorance is not an excuse. The Council has maintained order in this region of the galaxy for 10,000 years. Every species must follow the rules or face consequences." "What consequences?" Jake asked, unable to stay silent. Crystallix's glow intensified. "You were instructed not to speak unless addressed, Captain Morrison. That you cannot follow simple instructions demonstrates why humanity requires supervision. You are aggressive, undisciplined, and dangerous." "Dangerous?" Jake took a step forward. We've done nothing but answer your summons. We came here in peace. You came here because you were ordered to, Crystallix replied. But your history speaks clearly. Your species has engaged in constant warfare since you developed civilization. You have created weapons capable of destroying your own world. You have never known peace for more than a handful of years. Lisa raised her hand. High Arbiter, may I speak? Crystallix waved a crystalline appendage. Proceed. It is true that humanity has fought many wars. But we have also built great civilizations. We have created art, music, literature. We have explored the depths of our oceans and the heights of our mountains. We have cured diseases and extended our lifespans. We have achieved peace among ourselves and united our world under one government. We are more than our conflicts. A hulking being in the third tier laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. You unified through war, Ambassador. The Chromath have studied your recent history. Your unification wars killed hundreds of millions. And you claim to be peaceful? We claim to be capable of peace, Lisa replied calmly. There is a difference. Crystallix raised his hand, and silence fell. The Council has made its decision. Humanity will be integrated into the galactic community as a client race under Council oversight. You will dismantle your military forces and place them under Council command. You will share all technological data with the Council. You will accept a Council governor who will oversee your world's development. You will follow all Council laws and regulations without exception. You have 72 hours to transmit your acceptance of these terms. If you refuse, humanity will be classified as a hostile species, and your world will be pacified by Council forces. The word pacified hung in the air like a death sentence. Jake felt his blood run cold. He had heard that word before. During the wars, pacified meant conquered, broken, controlled. It meant the end of freedom. Lisa's voice was steady. And if we accept these terms, what happens to Earth? Earth becomes a protectorate. Your people will be safe, fed, and cared for. In time, if you prove yourselves worthy, you may earn limited self-governance. Many species have prospered under Council guidance. You will be no different. Unless we refuse, Jake said quietly. Crystallix's glow shifted to a colder blue. If you refuse, Captain, your species will cease to exist as a free people. We have pacified 17 species in Council history. All of them eventually saw the wisdom of our rule. Those who continued to resist were eliminated. The Council does not make idle threats. Jake looked at Lisa. Her face was pale but composed. She turned back to the Council. We will transmit your terms to our government and await their response. You have 72 hours, Crystallix repeated. Dismissed. Guards escorted them back to the Valiant. No one spoke during the walk. Once they were back on the ship and the airlock had sealed behind them, Jake immediately went to the communications station. Lieutenant Price, send a encrypted message to Earth. Highest priority. Tell them everything. And add this. They want us to kneel. Danny's fingers flew across his console. Message sent. Captain. It will reach Earth in 18 hours. Lisa sank into a chair, her diplomatic composure finally cracking. What have we done? She whispered. We reached for the stars. And we found this. Jake looked out at the massive station, at the warships hanging in space like birds of prey. We found out we're not alone, he said. And we found out that the universe already has masters. Now Earth has to decide if we're going to bow to them or fight. Fight? Lisa looked up at him. Jake, did you see those warships? Did you see this station? We're talking about a civilization that spans hundreds of worlds. We can't fight that. Maybe not, Jake admitted. But I fought in the unification wars. I watched dictators and tyrants try to control free people. Some of those people chose to fight, even when victory was impossible. They fought because the alternative was slavery. He turned to face her. I don't know what Earth will decide, but I know what I hope they decide. The message was on its way to Earth. In 72 hours, humanity would give its answer. The Galactic Council waited, confident in their power and their righteousness. They had no idea what was coming. The message from the Valiant reached Earth during the middle of the night in Geneva, where the Terran Federation government had established its capital. President Helen Carter was asleep when her security chief knocked on her bedroom door. She woke instantly, the way she had trained herself to do during her years as a military commander before entering politics. Madam President, we have a priority, one message from Captain Morrison. Helen was dressed and in the situation room within 10 minutes. The room was deep underground, protected by meters of reinforced concrete and electromagnetic shielding. Screens covered the walls, showing data feeds from around the world and throughout the solar system. Her cabinet was already assembling. Men and women pulled from their homes and offices by the same urgent call. General Victor Hayes was the first to arrive after Helen. He was a broad-shouldered man, with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much combat. He had led the final campaign of the Unification Wars, the one that had brought the last resistant nations into the Federation. He did not believe in surrender, and it showed in every line of his weathered face. Play the message, Helen ordered. The screen flickered, and Captain Morrison's face appeared. He looked tired and angry. Behind him, they could see the bridge of the Valiant and the massive council station through the viewing port. He spoke clearly and without emotion, describing everything they had witnessed. The station, the council, the 15 species that ruled this part of the galaxy. And then, he described the ultimatum. When the message ended with his final words, "They want us to kneel." The room was silent. Helen looked around at her advisors. Secretary of Defense Peter Collins looked pale. Science advisor Margaret Chen was shaking her head slowly. But General Hayes was smiling, a grim and terrible smile that Helen recognized. It was the smile of a man who had found an enemy worth fighting. Opinions, Helen said simply. Collins spoke first. Madam President, we have to consider the reality of the situation. The Council has technology that is decades, maybe centuries ahead of ours. They have hundreds of worlds and populations that number in the trillions. If we refuse their terms and they attack Earth, we would lose. We would lose. Badly. So you recommend we accept their terms? Helen asked. Collins hesitated. I recommend we negotiate. Buy time. Perhaps we can find a middle ground. There is no middle ground, General Hayes said quietly. I watched the message 3 times while waiting for this meeting. Did you see the way that Crystal Being spoke to our people? Did you hear the contempt in their voices? They do not see us as equals. They see us as children who need to be controlled. Or worse, as animals that need to be trained. That may be how they see us. Margaret Chen said. But General Hayes, we must be realistic. Our entire fleet consists of 12 ships, including the Valiant. They have thousands. We have conventional weapons and early energy shields. They have directed energy weapons and technology we cannot even identify. This is not a war we can win. Hayes turned to look at her. You are correct, Dr. Chen. This is not a war we can win. Not in any traditional sense. But there are other kinds of victory. Explain, Helen ordered. Hayes walked to one of the screens and pulled up a star map. The Council Station is here. In the Thessara system. It is 500 light-years from Earth. If we refuse their ultimatum, they will send a fleet to pacify us. That fleet will have to travel through space, which means time. Time we can use to prepare. 13107. Away 4 SS, Ender 14. Prepare what? Collins asked. We just established we cannot win a military confrontation. We cannot win a clean military confrontation, Hayes agreed. But warfare is rarely clean. He pulled up another image. This one showing the asteroid belt in Earth's solar system. For the past 40 years, since we first detected possible alien signals from deep space, a black project has been running. We called it Project Warhammer. Very few people knew about it. I was one of them. Helen leaned forward. Go on. We have been building warships in secret facilities hidden throughout the asteroid belt and in orbit around Jupiter's moons. Not exploration vessels like the Valiant. Warships. Designed for combat. We based the designs on every conflict humanity has ever fought. Incorporating lessons from naval warfare, air combat, and space theory. We took the best ideas from every nation that ever built a military, and we combined them. The screen changed, showing schematics of ships that looked nothing like the elegant Valiant. These were brutal, functional vessels, covered in armor plating and weapon systems. They looked like they had been designed by people who expected to get shot and wanted to shoot back harder. How many? Helen asked. 73 combat vessels. They range from destroyers to heavy battle carriers. The largest is the TFS Retribution. It is commanded by Admiral Kyle Bennett, and it carries enough firepower to crack a small moon. Collins was staring at the screen. This existed, and nobody told the civilian government? It was authorized by your predecessors, Hayes said calmly. After the Unification Wars, there was fear that First Contact might not be friendly. The decision was made to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. The project was compartmentalized for security. If aliens were watching us, we did not want them to know what we were building. Helen sat back in her chair, processing this information. And you think these ships can fight the Council? I think these ships can make the Council bleed, Hayes replied. Which is not the same as winning, but it might be enough. Enough for what? Enough to make them reconsider the cost of pacifying humanity. Enough to show them that we are not helpless prey. Enough to earn their respect. Or at least their fear. Margaret Chen shook her head. General, even if we have 73 warships, the Council has thousands. The mathematics are not in our favor. Dr. Chen, with respect, you are thinking about this wrong. Hayes pulled up historical images on the screen. Battles from Earth's past. The beaches of Normandy. The siege of Stalingrad. Guerrilla fighters in jungles and mountains. Humanity does not fight wars the way the Council expects. We do not calculate acceptable casualty rates and pull back when they are exceeded. We do not fight for territory or resources alone. We fight for survival. And when we fight for survival, we do not stop. He changed the image to show footage from the Unification Wars. Soldiers charging through fire. Pilots flying damaged aircraft into enemy positions. Civilians taking up arms to defend their homes. The Council has been in power for 10,000 years. They have established protocols and rules for warfare. They fight with precision and minimal losses. They expect their enemies to surrender when resistance becomes mathematically impossible. But humanity has never accepted mathematical impossibility. We fight until we win, or until we are dead. And sometimes we fight until we are dead, and still manage to win. Helen stood and walked to the screen, looking at the images of humanity's history of warfare. She had studied all of this. As a military academy cadet, she had written papers on insurgency tactics and asymmetric warfare. She had commanded troops who believed that surrender was not an option. And now, she was being asked to make a decision that would define humanity's future. If we fight, she said slowly, how many people will die? Millions, Hayes said without hesitation. Maybe billions. If the Council truly commits to pacifying Earth, they can bombard us from orbit. They can destroy our cities, our infrastructure, our entire civilization. It would be the worst catastrophe in human history. And if we surrender, we lose our freedom. We become subjects of the Council. They will control our world, our government, our military. Earth will become whatever they decide we should be. We will exist at their pleasure, following their rules, living according to their vision of what we should be. Our children will grow up, knowing that humanity chose to kneel rather than stand. Helen turned to face her cabinet. Other opinions? Collins spoke carefully. Madam President, I understand the appeal of defiance, but we have a responsibility to the people of Earth. If we can avoid a war that might kill billions, should we not at least try to negotiate? What do we negotiate? Asked Sarah Lewis, the Secretary of State. She had been quiet until now, but her voice was firm. The Council has made their terms clear. We dismantle our military, we accept their oversight, we give up our sovereignty. Those are not negotiating positions. Those are demands. If we show weakness now, they will never see us as equals. And if we fight, they might never see us at all. Collins countered. Because we will be dead. Helen looked at General Hayes. You said there are other kinds of victory. What did you mean? Hayes pulled up an image of the Council station. The Council has been in power for 10,000 years. They rule through overwhelming force and the belief that resistance is futile. But beliefs can be broken. If we send our fleet to their station and engage their forces, we will lose ships, we will lose lives. But we will also show them something they have never seen before. We will show them a species that refuses to be conquered, that fights even when victory is impossible, that would rather die free than live as slaves. And you think that will change their minds? I think it will scare them, Hayes said. Because if one species can defy the Council and survive, others might try. The Council's power is built on the acceptance of their superiority. If we challenge that, we challenge the foundation of everything they have built. Margaret Chen spoke up. There is another consideration. The Council has been watching us for centuries. They know our history. They know we are capable of extreme violence, but they still made this ultimatum. That suggests they do not believe we would actually fight. They think we will see their power and surrender. If we prove them wrong, it changes their entire assessment of humanity. Helen walked to the window. Outside, Geneva was waking up. People were going to work. Children were going to school. Life was continuing, as it always had. Those people had no idea that in the next few hours, their government would decide whether to fight an alien empire or surrender to it. I need to speak with Admiral Bennett, Helen said finally. The connection was established within minutes. Admiral Kyle Bennett appeared on the screen. He was older than Hayes, with white hair and a face like weathered leather. He stood on the bridge of the TFS Retribution, surrounded by crew working at their stations. Mr. President, he said, his voice gravelly. I have. Admiral, if I give the order to deploy your fleet, what are our chances? Bennett did not hesitate. Of winning a clean military victory against the Council? 0. Of surviving the engagement? Maybe 30%. Of making them regret threatening Earth? 100%. Explain that last part. Bennett smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Madam President, I have spent 40 years building and training a fleet based on one principle. Humanity does not fight fair. We use every advantage, every tactic, every weapon we can create. The Council has superior technology, but they fight by rules. Rules designed to minimize casualties and preserve resources. We will not follow those rules. We will do things they have never seen before, things that will shock and horrify them. And when they see what humanity is willing to do when threatened with extinction, they will understand that conquering us will cost more than they are willing to pay. Helen looked at the Admiral for a long moment. Are you willing to die for this? Admiral? Ma'am, I have been willing to die for Earth since I joined the service 50 years ago. The question is not whether I am willing to die. The question is whether Earth is willing to fight. Helen turned off the screen and looked at her cabinet. We have 72 hours to respond to the Council's ultimatum. I want recommendations from each of you within 24 hours. But I will tell you now where I am leaning. My father fought in the Unification Wars. He told me something before he died. He said that freedom is not something you are given. It is something you take and hold on to, even when holding it costs everything you have. The Council has ruled this part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They have seen species come and go, but they have never seen humanity. They do not know what we are capable of. I think it is time we showed them. General Hayes nodded slowly. What are your orders, Madam President? Prepare the fleet. Get me everything we know about Council technology, tactics, and ship designs. I want our best strategic minds working on ways to fight them, and I want a message prepared for the Council. Something that makes our position very clear. What message? Collins asked. Helen smiled. And it was a smile that would have made General Hayes proud. We will tell them that Earth has considered their offer, and we have decided that we would rather burn than kneel. And if they want to pacify humanity, they are welcome to try. But they should know that if Earth burns, we will make sure we are not the only ones burning. The room was silent for a moment. Then Hayes stood at attention and saluted. It will be done, Madam President. The preparations began immediately. Throughout the solar system, hidden facilities powered up. Shipyards that had been operating in secret for decades went to full production. The fleet began to assemble, 73 warships gathering near Jupiter, far enough from Earth that civilian telescopes could not see them. Each ship was loaded with weapons, ammunition, supplies, and a crew that understood they might not come home. Engineer Megan Foster worked around the clock with her team, preparing technical packages for the Council, not weapons data or ship designs, but something more important. Records of human warfare, footage from every major conflict in human history, analysis of tactics and strategies, psychological profiles of human soldiers and commanders. The message was clear. This is what you are threatening. This is what you are trying to control. This is what we are capable of. Admiral Bennett addressed his fleet from the bridge of the Retribution. His speech was broadcast to every ship, every crew member, every person who would fight in the coming battle. We are about to do something that has never been done before. We are going to challenge an empire that has ruled for 10,000 years. We are going to look at their power and their technology and their threats, and we are going to say no. Some of you will die. Maybe all of us will die. But we will die free. And we will die fighting. And we will make sure that the Council remembers the day they tried to break humanity. When they look back on this moment, they will know that humans do not surrender. Humans do not bow. Humans fight. And we are going to show them what that means. The fleet prepared to depart. Earth held its breath, and the Council waited at their station, confident and unconcerned, having no idea that 73 warships were about to arrive at their doorstep with a very different response than they expected. The 72-hour deadline expired at precisely midnight, Council Standard Time. High Arbiter Crystallix sat in the Council chamber alongside representatives from the 14 other species that governed this region of space. They expected either a message of submission from Earth or perhaps a final plea for mercy. What they did not expect was silence. The humans have not responded, observed Council Member Vrex, an insectoid Zythran whose mandibles clicked nervously. This is unusual. Every species we have summoned has responded within the deadline. Even those who chose to resist at least sent a message. Crystallix's crystalline body pulsed with a confident glow. Silence is a response in itself. They are frightened and paralyzed by the reality of their situation. Give them time. They will send their acceptance soon enough. And if they do not? Asked Commander Thrax, a massive Chromath military officer. His species had been warriors for millennia, and he had personally led dozens of pacification campaigns. Do we proceed with standard protocols? We do. Crystallix confirmed. Assemble the standard pacification fleet. 300 vessels should be more than sufficient for a single, undeveloped world. Make it clear to the humans that resistance is futile. Once they see our power, they will surrender quickly. They always do. Thrax nodded and began issuing orders. Throughout the station, Council military forces prepared for deployment. Ships powered up their systems. Crew members reported to their stations. Weapons were checked, and shields were tested. It was a routine operation, one they had performed many times before. No one was worried. No one was concerned. The Council had never lost a pacification campaign in 10,000 years. The defense fleet arranged itself in standard formation around the station. Energy shields flickered to life, creating overlapping fields of protection. Sensor arrays went to full power, scanning space in all directions for any sign of the human ship. The Valiant was still docked at the station, its crew confined to quarters under guard. Captain Morrison and Ambassador Grant had been demanding to speak with the Council, but their requests had been denied. They would be held until Earth surrendered, then returned home to help implement Council oversight. 6 hours after the deadline expired, the sensors detected something. An energy signature. No. Multiple energy signatures. Ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. The tactical officer, a Vex named Prismix, studied his displays with growing confusion. High Arbiter, we are detecting incoming vessels, multiple vessels. The humans sent reinforcements for their diplomatic ship? Crystallix sounded amused. How many? 2? 3? 73, High Arbiter. The Council chamber fell silent. Crystallix's glow flickered. Repeat that. 73 vessels, High Arbiter. They are human ships. They just entered the system and are currently accelerating toward the station. Commander Thrax pulled up the tactical display. The screen showed the incoming human fleet, each ship represented by a red icon. They were arranged in a formation that was aggressive and unmistakable. This was not a diplomatic approach. This was an attack formation. This is impossible, Vrex clicked. Our intelligence reports indicated the humans had fewer than 15 vessels total. Where did they get 73 warships? They hid them from us, Thrax said slowly. They built a secret fleet and kept it hidden. Clever. Foolish. But clever. Crystallix broadcast on all frequencies. His voice carried the authority of 10,000 years of Council rule. Human vessels. You are in violation of Council space protocols. You will halt your approach immediately and power down your weapon systems. This is your only warning. The response came from the Valiant. Captain Morrison's voice was cold and hard. Council Station. This is Captain Jake Morrison. I am no longer in command of the diplomatic mission. Admiral Kyle Bennett, of the Terran Federation Fleet, is now in command of all human forces in this system. He wishes to deliver a message. The screen changed. A new face appeared. Older and harder than Morrison's. Admiral Bennett looked like a man carved from stone and tempered by fire. Behind him, the bridge of his ship bustled with activity. Human crew members worked at their stations with focused intensity. High Arbiter Crystallix, I am Admiral Kyle Bennett. You gave Earth an ultimatum. You demanded we surrender our sovereignty, dismantle our military, and accept your rule. Earth has considered your offer. Our answer is no. Thrax felt a chill run through him, something he had not felt in decades. This human was not afraid. He was not hesitant or uncertain. He spoke with the confidence of a predator who had found prey. Bennett continued. You have ruled this region of space for 10,000 years through superior technology and overwhelming force. You have convinced yourselves that resistance is futile. You have made the mistake of believing your own propaganda. We are here to correct that mistake. You want to pacify Earth? You want to break humanity? Come and try. But know this. If you come to Earth, you will bleed. You will lose ships. You will lose lives. And when this is over, you will remember the day you threatened humanity. Now, here are our terms. Withdraw your ultimatum. Recognize Earth as a sovereign power, or we will show you what total war looks like. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Multiple species were shouting at once, their voices overlapping in a dozen different languages. Crystallix raised his hand for silence. This is unacceptable. You come to our station with your primitive vessels and make threats? You are outnumbered more than 4 to 1. Your technology is centuries behind ours. What possible reason do you have to believe you can challenge the council? Bennett smiled. And it was not a pleasant expression. Because you have never fought humans before. You are about to learn what that means. You have 1 hour to respond. After that, we will consider all council forces to be hostile. Bennett out. The transmission ended. Thrax immediately activated the defense fleet. All ships to battle stations. Prepare to intercept the human vessels. Standard engagement protocols. Show them the futility of resistance. 300 council warships moved into position. They were beautiful vessels, sleek and elegant, designed by civilizations that had been building spaceships for thousands of years. Their shields were the best in the galaxy. Their weapons could tear apart asteroids. Their crews were trained professionals who had served in dozens of campaigns. The human fleet continued to advance. As they drew closer, the council sensors got better readings on their ships. The designs were crude and functional. Thick armor plating covered every surface. Weapons systems bristled from every angle. There was no elegance, no grace. These ships looked like they had been built by people who expected to get shot and wanted to shoot back harder. They are not slowing down, Prismix reported. They are accelerating. Impact vectors suggest they intend to engage at close range. Close range? Thrax was puzzled. That is suicide. Our shields will absorb any kinetic impacts. And at close range, our weapons will tear them apart. Then why are they doing it? Vrex asked nervously. They got their answer when the human fleet entered weapons range. The council ships opened fire first, sending streams of directed energy weapons across space. The beams struck human ships, and shields flickered as they absorbed the impacts. Human missiles launched in waves, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. The council point defense systems activated, shooting down missile after missile. But there were too many. They overwhelmed the defenses. Conventional explosives detonated against council shields. And then, nuclear warheads followed. The council ships rocked under the impacts, their shields flickering and failing under the sustained assault. Thrax watched in growing disbelief as the first council ship exploded. A Zithran cruiser, one of their finest vessels, came apart under a combination of missile strikes and directed energy fire. Debris scattered across space. "Return fire," he roared. The council fleet obeyed, focusing their weapons on the largest human ships. Energy beams converged on the TFS Retribution, Bennett's flagship. The shields held for a moment, then failed. The beams struck armor plating, cutting deep gouges into the hull. Atmosphere vented from damaged sections. But the Retribution did not slow down. It kept coming, its weapons still firing. And then something happened that shocked everyone watching. A human destroyer, the TFS Defiance, accelerated directly toward a Chromath battleship. Commander Sophie Lane's voice came over the communications channel, calm and matter-of-fact. "Defiance to all ships, we have taken critical damage. Reactor containment is failing. Rather than waste a good explosion, we are going to put it to use. It has been an honor serving with you." The Defiance slammed into the Chromath battleship at full speed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the reactor detonated, and both ships vanished in a sphere of nuclear fire. When the sensors cleared, there was nothing left but debris and radiation. The Council fleet hesitated. This was not in any of their tactical protocols. Ships did not deliberately destroy themselves. Crews did not sacrifice their lives in suicide attacks. This was not how civilized species fought wars. But the humans were not hesitating. They pressed their attack, closing to point-blank range where the superior council shields were less effective. Human ships fired kinetic weapons. Massive slugs of metal accelerated to incredible speeds. These struck with devastating force, punching through armor and causing internal explosions. Lieutenant Danny Price led a squadron of human fighter craft from the Retribution's hangars. They were small, fast, and heavily armed. The fighters swarmed council ships, targeting weapons arrays and shield generators. Danny's voice came over the tactical channel, excited and focused. "Blue Squadron, follow my lead. We are going for the shield generator on that Vex cruiser. Once it is down, the Retribution can finish it off." The fighters dove toward the cruiser, weaving through defensive fire. 2 fighters were destroyed, but the rest made it through. They fired missiles at the shield generator, and the precise strikes disabled it. The Retribution immediately targeted the vulnerable cruiser with its main batteries. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash. Thrax could not believe what he was seeing. The Council was losing. Not badly. Not yet. But they were losing. Human ships were destroyed. Yes. He counted 19 confirmed kills. But the Council had lost 47 vessels. 47 ships crewed by trained professionals, destroyed by primitives who should not have been able to fight at all. How are they doing this? Vrex's voice was panicked. How are they beating us? Admiral Bennett's voice came over the open channel. I will tell you how. You fight to minimize casualties. You fight to preserve your ships. You calculate acceptable losses and retreat when they are exceeded. We do not. We fight to win. We fight until we are victorious or until we are dead. And we brought something to show you what that means. On every council screen, images began to appear. Historical footage from Earth. Soldiers fighting in trenches, covered in mud and blood. Pilots flying damaged aircraft into enemy ships. Civilians defending their homes with improvised weapons. Cities burning. Armies clashing. Mushroom clouds rising over devastated landscapes. Bennett's voice accompanied the images. This is human history. This is what we are capable of. We have fought wars that killed tens of millions. We have created weapons that can destroy our entire world. We have nearly made ourselves extinct multiple times, and we survived. Every time, we survived, because we do not give up. We do not surrender. We fight. More images. The siege of Stalingrad. The beaches of Normandy. The Pacific Island campaigns. Guerrilla wars, in jungles and mountains. The unification wars, humanity's most recent and brutal conflicts. You want to pacify Earth? You want to break us? Then you need to understand what you are threatening. We have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We have perfected the art of warfare. We know every tactic, every strategy, every way to hurt an enemy. And now, you are our enemy. A Vex capital ship exploded under sustained fire from 3 human vessels. The humans had lost 2 destroyers in the exchange, but they had destroyed a ship worth 10 times their value. Crystallix finally spoke, his voice shaking. Cease fire. All ships. Cease fire. Human fleet. We request an immediate cessation of hostilities. The human weapons fell silent. Their ships held position, damaged and burning but still operational. Bennett appeared on the screen again. Behind him, crew members worked to repair damaged systems and treat wounded personnel. You want a ceasefire, High Arbiter? Very well. We will give you one. But only so you can see what we have accomplished here. In 30 minutes of combat, your fleet has lost 47 ships. Ours has lost 19. We are outnumbered more than 4 to 1. And we are winning. Not because our technology is better. Not because our ships are stronger. But because we are willing to pay the price for victory. And you are not. Crystallix struggled to form words. This was impossible. This was not how things worked. The Council did not lose battles to primitives. The Council did not get challenged by species who had just achieved faster-than-light travel. The entire foundation of Council authority was based on unquestionable military superiority. And that foundation was cracking. "What do you want?" Crystallix finally asked. "I told you what we want. Withdraw your ultimatum. Recognize Earth as a sovereign power. Treat us as equals, not as subjects. And if we refuse?" Bennett's smile was cold and terrible. "Then we continue. We will destroy every ship you have. We will damage this station. And then we will return to Earth. Gather reinforcements. And come back. We will keep fighting until you accept our terms, or until every human is dead. Because that is what we do. We fight. And we do not stop." Thrax looked at the tactical display. The human fleet was damaged, yes, but they were still combat capable. And they had proven something terrifying. They could win. Not easily. Not without losses. But they could win. If the battle continued, the Council would lose more ships. Maybe dozens more. Maybe hundreds. And for what? To force one stubborn species into submission? "High Arbiter," Thrax said quietly. "I recommend we grant the ceasefire and request a formal negotiation. These humans are not like other species we have encountered. They are dangerous. Continuing this battle will cost us more than we can afford to lose." Crystallix's glow was dim and flickering. "Request Admiral Bennett to stand down his fleet. We will negotiate terms." Quote, "Ride. Ride. Ride." Bennett nodded slowly. "We will hold position. But know this. If you attack Earth, if you send another fleet to pacify us, we will consider it an act of war. And next time, we will not stop at your defense fleet. We will come for your home worlds. We have already mapped them. We know where they are. If Earth burns, your worlds burn with us. That is not a threat. That is a promise." The transmission ended. The Council chamber was silent. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Council had been challenged by a species they intended to conquer. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the Council had lost. The emergency Council session convened 6 hours after the ceasefire. The chamber was filled with representatives from all 15 member species, but the atmosphere was nothing like the confident authority that had characterized their last meeting. Now there was tension, uncertainty, and something the Council had not felt in millennia: fear. High Arbiter Crystallix stood at the center podium, his crystalline form dim and pulsing erratically. Around him, the tiered seating held Council members who were arguing in multiple languages, their voices creating a cacophony of anger and confusion. He raised his hand for silence, and gradually the chamber quieted. "Members of the Council, we face an unprecedented situation. The human fleet remains in position at the edge of our defensive perimeter. They have ceased hostile actions, but refuse to withdraw. They are demanding recognition as a sovereign power and the withdrawal of our ultimatum. We must decide how to proceed." Council member Vrex clicked his mandibles sharply. "How to proceed? The answer is obvious. We mobilize the full Council military and destroy them. They have attacked Council forces. They have killed Council personnel. They have violated every protocol we have established. We cannot allow this challenge to stand. I would know. We would not. They work. And how many more ships will we lose?" asked Council member Saren, a elegant being from the aquatic Delphex species. "They destroyed 47 vessels in 30 minutes. Our intelligence suggested they were primitives with barely functional technology. We were wrong. Catastrophically wrong. They caught us by surprise," Commander Thrax rumbled. "Now that we understand their tactics, we can adapt. We can." "Adapt to what?" interrupted Council member Kiex, a Vex like Crystallix. "They sacrificed ships deliberately. They closed to ranges where our shields were less effective. They fought with a ferocity that our combat models did not predict. And most importantly, they were willing to die to achieve their objectives. How do you fight an enemy that does not value survival? Thrax had no answer. He had fought in dozens of campaigns, conquered multiple worlds, and never encountered resistance like this. The humans fought as if defeat was acceptable as long as they hurt the enemy in the process. It was insane. It was terrifying. And it was effective. Crystallix projected an image into the center of the chamber. It showed the historical footage that Admiral Bennett had transmitted during the battle. Images of human warfare throughout their history. Trenches filled with soldiers fighting over meters of ground. Cities reduced to rubble. Mushroom clouds rising over devastated landscapes. Children with weapons defending their homes. The images cycled through, one after another. A history written in blood and fire. I have studied these records extensively, Crystallix said. The humans call themselves a peaceful species, but their history suggests otherwise. They have fought constantly since they developed civilization. Wars over territory, resources, ideology, religion. Wars that killed millions. The largest conflict in their recent history, what they call World War II, killed over 70 million humans. That is more deaths than some council species have in their entire populations. Then they are a violent, dangerous species, Vrex insisted. All the more reason to eliminate them before they become a greater threat. You misunderstand my point, Crystallix said. World War II lasted 6 years. Within those 6 years, humans developed nuclear weapons. Weapons capable of destroying entire cities with a single bomb. They used them. And then, after the war ended, they built more. Thousands more. Weapons powerful enough to destroy their entire world multiple times over. They came within hours of total self-annihilation on several occasions. And yet, they survived. They did not destroy themselves. They unified. They pulled back from the edge of extinction and built a single planetary government. Saren spoke softly. What are you saying, High Arbiter? I am saying that humans are survivors. They have faced extinction multiple times and overcome it. They understand warfare in a way we do not. The Council has maintained peace through overwhelming force and the threat of pacification. We have fought 17 wars against defiant species in our history. We won all 17. But we never fought a species like this. A species that has spent their entire history fighting themselves. A species that knows how to fight total war and survive it. So what do you propose? Asked Council Member Jex. A cautious being from the telepathic Mindari species. We accept their demands? We allow them to dictate terms to us? That would destroy Council authority. Every client race would see that defiance works. Every species we have pacified would question our rule. The entire system we have built would collapse. Crystallix dimmed further. I am aware of the implications. But consider the alternative. If we mobilize the full Council military to destroy Earth, what happens? We send a fleet of thousands of ships to their home system. They will fight. They have shown us they will fight to the last ship, the last soldier, the last civilian. We will win eventually, but at what cost? How many ships will we lose? How many Council personnel will die? And what will other species think when they see that it required thousands of warships to conquer one primitive world? Thrax leaned forward. High Arbiter, I understand your concerns, but there is another factor we must consider. During the battle, the human admiral made a threat. He said, if we attack Earth, they will target our home worlds. They claim to have already mapped our systems. Was he bluffing? Wording, unknown, Crystallix replied. But we must assume he was not. The humans have demonstrated considerable deception capability by hiding their fleet from us. It is possible they have reconnaissance vessels throughout Council space that we have not detected. If they do possess the locations of our home worlds, and if they carry out their threat. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The council ruled through centralized authority from this station. But each species had a home world, a place they came from, and protected above all else. If humans began attacking those worlds, the entire council structure would face chaos. They would not dare, Vrex said, but his voice lacked conviction. Attacking council homeworlds would mean their total annihilation. Would it? Jex asked quietly. They have already accepted death as a possible outcome. Admiral Bennett made that clear. They would rather die fighting than live under our rule. If they are truly willing to accept their own destruction, as long as they hurt us in the process, then our threats are meaningless. Kiex pulsed with agitation. This is insane. We have ruled for 10,000 years. We have brought order to hundreds of worlds. We have maintained peace through strength. One species cannot be allowed to challenge that. One species already has, Saren pointed out. They are not challenging our right to exist or our authority over council space. They are only demanding sovereignty over their own world. Is that truly unreasonable? Yes, Vrex clicked emphatically. Every species must follow council protocols. If we make exceptions for the humans, we set a dangerous precedent. Crystallix pulled up another projection. This one, showing star charts. There is something else we must discuss. Something that changes everything. The Devourers. The name sent a ripple of fear through the chamber. The Devourers were an extragalactic threat that the Council had been monitoring for decades. They were a species, or perhaps a collection of species, that consumed entire worlds. They did not negotiate. They did not communicate. They simply arrived, stripped a planet of all resources, and moved on to the next target. The Council had established defensive positions along the outer rim, but intelligence suggested the Devourers would reach Council space within a decade. What do the Devourers have to do with the humans? Asked Saren. Everything, Crystallix said. We have been preparing to face the Devourers for decades. We have built defensive fleets. We have created new weapons systems. We have studied every engagement between Council forces and Devourer scouts. And in every case, we have lost. The Devourers fight with complete disregard for their own casualties. They overwhelm our defensive positions through sheer numbers and willingness to absorb losses that we consider unacceptable. He paused, letting that sink in. Does that sound familiar? The Devourers fight like the humans fight. With total commitment. With willingness to die, to achieve objectives. With tactics that prioritize victory over survival. Thrax stood slowly, his massive form radiating shock. You are saying we need the humans to fight the Devourers. I am saying the humans understand a type of warfare we do not. They have experience fighting enemies that cannot be reasoned with, that will not surrender, that must be destroyed completely. Every war in their history has been existential. They fight as if every battle determines their survival, because for them, it often did. That experience is exactly what we need to face the Devourers. Vrex shook his head violently. You cannot be serious. You want to recruit the species that just attacked us to help defend Council space? I am absolutely serious, Crystallix said. The humans have shown us something we desperately need. The ability to win battles through determination and willingness to accept casualties. Our military doctrine is based on minimizing losses and fighting efficiently. That doctrine will fail against the Devourers. We need to learn how to fight total war. And the humans are experts at it. Jex spoke carefully, his telepathic projections carrying layers of meaning. High Arbiter, you are suggesting we offer the humans council membership? Not as a client race, but as equals? I am suggesting exactly that. We give them what they demand. Recognition as a sovereign power and a seat on this council. In exchange, they share their military knowledge and help us prepare for the Devourer threat. The chamber erupted in arguments. Multiple species shouted at once, their voices overlapping in chaos. Some supported Crystallix's proposal. Others violently opposed it. Commander Thrax listened to them all, his expression thoughtful. Finally, he raised his hand. "Permission to speak, High Arbiter." Crystallix nodded. "I have fought for the Council for 40 years. I have led pacification campaigns against multiple species. I have never lost a battle until today. That human fleet destroyed 47 Council vessels in 30 minutes. 47. I have studied the tactical recordings. I have analyzed their methods, and I must tell you all something. They were holding back." What do you mean?" Kex demanded. "They had nuclear weapons. They used them sparingly. They have weapons that could have caused far more destruction, but they chose targeted strikes instead. Why? Because they wanted to demonstrate their capability, not annihilate our fleet. They wanted us to understand what they could do, not what they would do. That shows tactical sophistication. They know when to use overwhelming force and when to show restraint. That is a valuable quality in a military ally." Vrex clicked angrily. "You would trust them? After they attacked us?" "We attacked them first," Thrax said bluntly. "We gave them an ultimatum that demanded their surrender and threatened their world. They responded by showing us they would not surrender. Would we have done any different in their position? Would any Council species have simply accepted subjugation?" The question hung in the air, unanswered. Crystallix spoke again, his voice carrying the weight of authority. "We will vote. The question before the Council is this: do we offer humanity full membership in the Galactic Council as a sovereign power, with all rights and responsibilities that entails? All in favor? Ask. Did. What is in work? Slowly, reluctantly. Hands and appendages and telepathic signals of assent began to appear. Not all species agreed, but enough did. When the count was tallied, the measure passed by a slim majority. Kex pulsed with resignation. "We have just changed 10,000 years of precedent. The Council will never be the same." "No," Crystallix agreed. "It will not. But perhaps that is what we need. The universe is changing. New threats are emerging. We must adapt, or we will fall. The humans have shown us that survival sometimes requires being willing to fight in ways we find uncomfortable. Perhaps they can teach us what we need to know." Thrax stood. "I will deliver the offer to Admiral Bennett myself. It should come from a military officer. They will respect that." "Agreed," Crystallix said. "And Commander, tell them the truth. Tell them about the Devourers. Tell them why we need them. Humans value honesty, according to their cultural profiles. They will respond better to truth than manipulation." Thrax nodded and left the chamber. Behind him, the Council members sat in silence, contemplating what they had just done. For 10,000 years, the Galactic Council had ruled through unquestioned authority and overwhelming force. Today, that rule had been challenged and found wanting. Today, the Council had been forced to adapt. And the agent of that change was a species that had achieved faster than light travel less than a year ago. In the docking bay where the human fleet waited, Admiral Bennett received the incoming transmission. Commander Thrax's massive face filled the screen. "Admiral Bennett, the Council has made a decision. We wish to discuss terms. Not your surrender. Ours." Bennett raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "We are prepared to offer Earth full membership in the Galactic Council. Not as a client race, as an equal. But there is a price. We need your help. There is a threat coming. Something that fights like you fight. Something we cannot defeat alone. If you agree to help us face it, we will give you what you demand." Bennett was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Commander, send your shuttle to my ship. Let us discuss the details. But I warn you. If this is a trick, if you are stalling while you gather reinforcements, the next battle will not end with a ceasefire. No tricks, Admiral. We have learned our lesson. Humans do not bluff, they do not surrender, and they do not lose. These are qualities we need, not qualities we should try to eliminate. Come to the station. Let us talk as equals. The transmission ended. Bennett looked at his crew, at the faces of men and women who had been willing to die today to protect Earth's freedom. They had won, not through superior technology or numbers, but through determination and the willingness to fight. When fighting seemed hopeless, humanity had faced the Galactic Council and forced them to blink first. Prepare a shuttle, Bennett ordered. We are going to negotiate humanity's entry into the galaxy, on our terms. Admiral Kyle Bennett stood in the council chamber 3 days after the battle. Next to him were Captain Jake Morrison, Ambassador Lisa Grant, and General Victor Hayes, who had arrived from Earth with authorization to negotiate on behalf of the Terran Federation. Around them, in the tiered seating, sat representatives from 15 alien species who ruled this region of the galaxy. The atmosphere was tense, but respectful. The condescension and contempt from their first meeting were gone, replaced by cautious acknowledgement. High Arbiter Crystallix addressed the assembled council and the human delegation. We have spent the last 72 hours in negotiations with the Terran representatives. The terms have been difficult, but fair. Today we formalize humanity's entry into the Galactic Council. But before we do, there are things that must be said, things that must be understood. He turned to face Bennett directly. Admiral, you humbled us. You showed us that our confidence was misplaced and our assumptions were wrong. You forced us to see that power without wisdom is hollow. We have ruled for 10,000 years, and in that time, we became convinced that our way was the only way. You proved otherwise. For that, you have my respect. Bennett nodded slowly. High Arbiter, humanity did not come here seeking war. We came seeking recognition. You offered us chains. We offered you fire. I am glad we can now offer each other something better. Partnership. Crystallix's form pulsed with agreement. Indeed, the terms we have negotiated are as follows. Earth is recognized as a sovereign world with full rights under council law. Humanity will hold a permanent seat on this council with equal voting rights. The Terran Federation will maintain its military forces without restriction or oversight. Council ships are prohibited from entering Earth's solar system without explicit permission from Terran authorities. In exchange, Earth agrees to share its military knowledge and tactical expertise with Council forces. And the Devourers, Commander Thrax added, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. Tell them about the real reason we made this agreement. Crystallix dimmed slightly. Yes, the Devourers. Admiral Bennett, what I am about to tell you is classified information that only Council leadership has known. We are sharing it now because you are Council leadership. 38 years ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected unusual activity at the edge of our territory. Ships of unknown origin and design. We attempted contact. There was no response. We sent scout vessels to investigate. None returned. Images appeared in the center of the chamber. Dark, angular ships, unlike anything humans had seen before. They were enormous, each one the size of a small city. Their hulls were covered in what looked like organic material, and they moved through space in swarms, like insects. We call them the Devourers, because that is what they do. They arrive at a world, strip it of all resources, consume every living thing, and move on. They do not communicate. They do not negotiate. They simply consume. We have engaged them 17 times in the past 3 decades. We have lost every engagement. They fight with tactics similar to yours. Overwhelming force, willingness to accept casualties, and complete disregard for their own survival. They are coming here. Our best estimates suggest they will reach Council space within 8 to 10 years. The humans absorbed this information in silence. Lisa Grant was the first to speak. How many worlds have they consumed? Mender, 1. Lisa, 14 that we know of, Crystallix replied quietly. Billions of lives. Entire civilizations erased. We have been preparing defensive positions, building new weapons, training new tactics. But nothing has worked. They overwhelm our defenses through sheer numbers and determination. They fight the way you fight, Admiral. That is why we need you. General Hayes stepped forward. You want us to teach you how to fight total war. Yes, Thrax confirmed. We need to learn how to accept casualties and still achieve victory. We need to learn how to fight enemies that cannot be reasoned with. We need to learn human warfare. Bennett looked at his team, then back at the council. We will help you. But understand something. Human warfare is brutal. It is costly. It requires sacrifices that may seem incomprehensible to you. We have no choice, Crystallix said simply. The Devourers will not give us the luxury of fighting clean wars. We must learn, or we will die. All of us. Every council species. Every world. Everything we have built in 10,000 years will be consumed. Then we will teach you, Bennett said. But there are conditions. First, you will reform your client race system. No more forced pacification. No more subjugation. Every species under council oversight will be given the choice to seek independence or join voluntarily. Second, you will share all intelligence on the Devourers with Earth immediately. We need to know everything you know. Third, combined military exercises will begin within 6 months. Council forces and Terran forces training together, learning from each other. Agreed, Crystallix said without hesitation. The Council has already begun drafting reforms to the client race system. It will take time, but the process has started. You have changed more than just your own status, Admiral. You have changed the entire structure of Council governance. Council member Saren spoke from her seat, her voice carrying across the chamber. The humans have shown us that our system was flawed. We ruled through fear and overwhelming force. But fear is not loyalty, and force is not wisdom. The coming war with the Devourers will require more than military strength. It will require unity. True unity. Not subjugation. Well said, Lisa Grant added. Ambassador Saren, I look forward to working with you and all council members. Earth brings more than military expertise. We bring diplomatic experience, scientific knowledge, and cultural perspectives. We may be young in galactic terms, but we have learned much in our short history. President Helen Carter's image appeared on a screen, transmitted from Earth. She had been watching the proceedings and now addressed the Council directly. Members of the Galactic Council, on behalf of the Terran Federation and all humanity, I accept the terms of membership. Earth joins this council not as conquerors or as servants, but as partners. We will share what we know. We will fight beside you. And together, we will face whatever threats emerge from the darkness of space. Humanity has survived extinction events before. We will help you survive this one. The council members signaled their acceptance in various ways. Clicks, telepathic pulses, bioluminescent flashes, and spoken words of agreement filled the chamber. After 10,000 years of unchanged rule, the Galactic Council had been transformed in a matter of days. The catalyst had been humanity, a species that refused to accept defeat and forced the galaxy to acknowledge their strength. 3 months later, the first combined training exercises began. Council forces arrived at military facilities throughout the solar system, and human instructors began teaching them tactics that seemed insane to species accustomed to clean, efficient warfare. Megan Foster, now promoted to Director of Joint Technology Development, worked with Council scientists to merge human and alien technologies. The results were impressive. Human weapons systems gained alien energy efficiency. Council ships gained human armor and redundancy systems. General Hayes ran training simulations at a facility on Mars. Council soldiers from multiple species trained alongside human marines. The exercises were brutal and exhausting. Axer. Hayes pushed them hard, teaching them to fight through exhaustion, to adapt to chaos, to function when everything went wrong. Commander Thrax participated in the training personally. Despite his decades of military experience, he found himself learning new approaches to combat. The humans taught him that sometimes the best tactics were the simplest. Overwhelming firepower, aggressive maneuvers, and the willingness to trade losses for strategic advantage. It went against everything his training had taught him, but he could see the effectiveness. "You fight like every battle is your last," he commented to Hayes during a break in the exercises. Hayes nodded. "Because every battle might be our last. The key is making sure that if we go down, we take the enemy with us. That is the mindset you need to defeat the Devourers. They will not stop. They will not retreat, so neither can you." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Danny Price worked with Council fighter pilots, teaching them aggressive attack patterns and risk-taking maneuvers that made their safety-conscious instructors nervous. Danny had lost friends in the battle at Council Station Alpha, but those losses had meaning now. They had bought humanity's freedom and created this alliance. He was determined to make sure those sacrifices counted. Captain Morrison commanded a joint Human Council patrol squadron that explored the outer edges of Council space, looking for signs of Devourer activity. The crews learned to work together despite cultural differences and communication barriers. Slowly, trust developed. The Council officers saw that humans were not reckless barbarians but dedicated professionals with unconventional methods. The human officers saw that Council species were not arrogant tyrants, but experienced leaders struggling with an unprecedented threat. Lisa Grant took her seat on the Council as Earth's official representative. She quickly became known as a voice for reform and progressive policies. She pushed for greater rights for former client races, better communication between species, and more transparent governance. Some Council members resisted, clinging to old ways. Others embraced the changes, recognizing that the old order had failed when confronted by a species willing to fight for its freedom. 6 months after the battle, the Council received troubling intelligence. Devourer scouts had been detected much closer than expected. The timeline had changed. Instead of 8 to 10 years, they might have only 5, maybe less. Admiral Bennett convened a meeting of senior military leadership from all Council species. In the conference room aboard the Retribution, now permanently stationed at Council space as humanity's contribution to the defense fleet, he addressed the assembled officers. "The Devourers are coming faster than we thought. That means we have less time to prepare. But I have good news. We are ready. Not perfectly ready, but ready enough. The combined fleet now includes human tactics integrated with Council technology. We have trained together, we have learned from each other, and we have developed battle plans based on human experience, fighting existential wars." He pulled up tactical displays showing defensive positions throughout Council space. "We will not fight the way the Council has fought before. We will not calculate acceptable losses and retreat. We will fight to win. We will hold every system, defend every world, and we will make the Devourers pay in blood for every meter of space they try to take. This is total war. This is what humanity knows. And we will teach the Devourers what it means to face an enemy that will never surrender." Commander Thrax nodded approvingly. "The Council forces are ready, Admiral. For the first time, I believe we can actually win this war. We will win," Bennett said with certainty. "Because we have no other choice. Because billions of lives depend on us. And because we learned something important. When free people stand together, when they fight for something bigger than themselves, they cannot be defeated. The Devourers consume worlds. We will show them what happens when they try to consume a galaxy that has learned to fight back." Back on Earth, President Carter addressed a global audience. "Citizens of Earth, 6 months ago, we faced a choice. Submit to alien rule or fight for our freedom. We chose to fight. That decision changed everything. We are now members of the Galactic Council. We have allies among the stars. But we also have responsibilities. A threat is coming that endangers all life in this region of space. Earth will do its part to stop it. We will send our ships. We will send our soldiers. We will share our knowledge. Because that is what free people do when freedom itself is threatened. We stand together. We fight together. And we win together. On Council Station Alpha, High Arbiter Crystallix looked out at the stars from his private chamber. The station had been repaired after the battle, but the scars remained. They served as a reminder of the day the Council's authority had been challenged and changed forever. He did not regret the changes. The old order was failing. The humans had shown them that. His thoughts were interrupted by a communication from Captain Morrison, who was leading a patrol near the outer rim. "Hi, Arbiter? We have detected Devourer scout ships in Sector 7. They are testing our defenses. Engage them according to Protocol Bennett 7, Crystallix ordered. That was what they called the new tactical doctrine, Protocol Bennett 7. It was based entirely on human warfare principles. Aggressive engagement. No retreat. Fight until the enemy is destroyed, or you are. Engaging now," Morrison confirmed. Through the tactical feed, Crystallix watched as the combined Human Council patrol squadron attacked the Devourer scouts. They did not wait for reinforcements. They did not calculate odds. They simply attacked with overwhelming force and determination. The Devourer scouts were destroyed within minutes. Morrison's voice came over the channel again. "Sector 7 clear. High Arbiter. Returning to patrol pattern. Well done, Captain. Continue your mission." Crystallix dimmed thoughtfully. The humans had been part of the Council for only 6 months, but they had already changed everything. Not just military tactics, but the entire culture of Council governance. They had shown that strength came not from domination but from partnership. That respect was earned through actions, not demanded through threats. That freedom was worth fighting for, even when fighting seemed hopeless. The Devourers were coming. The war would be brutal and costly. Many would die. But for the first time in decades, Crystallix believed they could win. Not because of superior technology, not because of overwhelming numbers, but because they had learned what the humans already knew. Free people, fighting for their survival, are the most dangerous force in the universe. In his ready room, Admiral Bennett recorded a final log entry for his personal files. Today marks 6 months since humanity forced the Galactic Council to accept us as equals. 6 months since we showed them that Earth does not kneel. The coming war will test everything we have built. But I am confident. The Council species are learning. They are becoming warriors in the truest sense. Not conquerors who subjugate the weak, but defenders who protect the free. That is humanity's gift to the galaxy. The knowledge that freedom is worth any price. The Devourers will learn what the Council learned. When you threaten free people, they do not calculate odds. They do not consider defeat. They simply fight. And they do not stop until victory is achieved or death claims them. Either outcome is acceptable, because living free is worth dying for. He closed the log and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, in the darkness between galaxies, the Devourers were coming. Let them come. Humanity and the Council would be waiting. Together, they would show the universe what happened when species that valued freedom stood united against those who sought to destroy it. The battle at Council Station Alpha had been humanity's introduction to galactic civilization. The coming war with the Devourers would be their graduation, and when it was over, the galaxy would know that humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through submission, not through conquest, but through the same quality that had allowed them to survive every threat in their history: the absolute refusal to surrender. The Galactic Council had been shocked when humanity arrived for what they thought would be total annihilation. Instead, they discovered that humanity brought something far more valuable than weapons or technology. They brought the will to fight when fighting seemed impossible. The determination to stand when standing required courage. The wisdom to know that some things were worth dying for. And that lesson, more than any tactical doctrine or military strategy, would save the Council from the coming darkness. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy, and the galaxy would never be the same.